Welcome back to my channel, Navigating Midlife Live. Today, I am going to talk about menopause and how recovery from illness or really stressful events, even surgery, can change in menopause. And there are reasons why. If you haven't been here before, I'm glad that you're here. My name is Connie Pertula. I also go by the Menopause Navigator, and I'm a certified nutritional practitioner. I focus on women who are navigating the various stages of menopause, all the way from peri to post. And yes, postmenopause is a very important time in a woman's life as well, too. Menopause and recovery. This is a bit of a personal story, and uh, because of my training as a certified nutritional practitioner, I'm always, I guess, observing myself or maybe analyzing myself to a certain extent, just to see, what is my body doing? And I know if my body's doing it, other women will experience it as well too. So just before Christmas, I came down with a really nasty chest cold. And of course, I have all kinds of concoctions and stuff like that. I went to bed on the Friday night and I thought, okay, I'm going to nip this in the bud. I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and I will be fine. And as the night went on, I felt worse and worse. And Saturday morning, when I woke up, I felt awful. I knew I just needed to stay in bed, that I was not able to do anything. And I thought, okay, well, give myself, all day Saturday rest and it'll get better. But as Saturday went on, it just kept getting worse and worse. And as I say, it just went directly into my lungs. And so I knew that's it. Okay, I'm down for the count. There's nothing else I can do. I just got to, I just have to sleep. I have to take it easy. And so that's what I did. I slept. It didn't leave me as quick as I was hoping, or sort of subside. I mean, typically an illness is going to hang around for anywhere from 10 to 14 days, but the Sunday I felt even worse. So I knew that it was going to stick around for a while. And so I did. I rested. I was eating. I didn't lose my appetite, so I was eating, protein, things that were just easy on my digestive system. One of the issues that a lot of women have is when something like this that hits us, it's kind of like, okay, I've got to get back. I've got to get going. And for me, Christmas was coming up and I wanted to do a few things. I wanted to put a few direct decorations up in my place, that type of thing, just get the Christmas spirit going. And I couldn't do any of that. And that made me a little bit sad that it was Christmas time and I wasn't able to do any of that. And I thought, gosh, I would even plan to take myself out for a nice Christmas dinner. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that either. I knew that I just straight had to rest. And, as women, sometimes we can feel that we should be able to bounce back quickly. We're used to looking after everybody else. So, why is everything changing? And this is where sometimes uh, certain negative thoughts can come in, or even take us into a depression. And for me, that was sort of the case. It being Christmas, not feeling well, being on my own, I really, got into a very low mood. And I was wise, trying to stay away from things that I know that can take me further down that path, like eating refined foods and all kinds of sweets and stuff like that. That just generally gets me down further. So what I did was, of course, I did rest. But then I really started to think about this and I thought, wow, when we get hit with an illness or if we need a surgery or something like that, you know, what kind of goes through our mind, or what's happening to our body? Is this a lot different than prior to menopause? And of course, I knew that I had a different level of energy before menopause. Now I guess I have to pay attention more so to what I'm doing, or maybe making sure that I'm supporting my body during these times. And then I started to think about the hormonal changes. So estrogen is, of course, one of those hormones that, uh, it can affect our mood. So can progesterone. I'll get to that in a second, but it can affect our mood, our energy, our overall sort of, uh, you know, healing process. Estrogen is a great protector. So, of course, any woman who's not on some type of hormone therapy, and even women who are on hormone therapy, could be affected in the same way. Just, lower overall energy, not recovering as quickly. Progesterone, of course, is the big one that, when we're feeling really stressed prior to menopause, we have higher progesterone levels. So, of course, those help us to relax a bit more. And of course, high stress can also bring on illness as well, too. And when I look back at the things that I was doing before I got sick, I was really pushing the boundaries. I was pushing the boundaries as far as getting up early, staying up late, go, go, go. So I knew that potentially my immune system had gotten quite a bit lower, and that's why I contracted whatever ended up deciding to attack me. So those are a couple of the things that can happen with respect to estrogen and progesterone as to how they support our body. The other thing, of course, testosterone is part of our hormone makeup as well too. And testosterone is one of those things that, for some people, they feel that testosterone kind of gives you your motivation and your drive. And, so when we get sick and we've got lower levels of hormones overall, then that's where we can start to tumble into uh, a depressive state. We can also tumble into just learning to convalesce. A couple of days in bed, and after a while, it's like, oh, well, I just don't really have the energy. I don't want to do anything. So it can sometimes take us down further. And there's also the other aspect of, well, I guess this is just the way it is now that I'm getting older. I'm in menopause, I'm older. I guess I just have to accept that, when I get sick, it's going to take me longer to recover. I'm not going to feel as well. That can sometimes take us into a real spiral downward. And that's exactly what it did to me. And I've shared before on my channel, even though I'm a certified nutritional practitioner, I'm human. um, Contrary to popular belief, I am human. These things affect me as well too. And on top of that, being alone and not being able to celebrate Christmas the way I'd hoped, then that can take me down further as well too. So then I start to get into the comfort food. And, my comfort food is things like cookies or muffins, those types of things. All I had energy to make was cookies, but I did manage to make those. And so I did. I made a few batches of cookies. I did give some away. But, I started getting into certain eating habits. Now, something that can also happen when we're ill is our body can crave carbs more so. It wants that energy. So that's where we can end up eating higher carb meals. I got into rice. I was eating more sweet potatoes. Now, there's nothing wrong with those, but I wasn't pre-cooking them and changing them into a resistant starch. But I found myself eating very high carb meals every day while I was sick. I'm not going to question that, and I'm not going to judge myself for that, but these were just things that I noticed. The other part of it is when we go into menopause, start transitioning through menopause, and just based on sort of overall physiology of our body, this is where if we're not getting in enough protein, of course, protein really helps to support our immune system and that healing process in our body. If we're not getting enough protein, that's where we can start to lose some muscle. Now, for me, I ended up not being able to work out for just over 3 weeks. And I did notice a little bit of a loss in my strength. So when I went back to the gym, I, just needed to be cautious about the weights that I was lifting to make sure that I wasn't, okay, I'm just going to get back at it. I'm just going to push my body hard. It's like, no, okay, I've been away for 3 weeks. I need to be wise about what I'm doing going back to the gym. But I had also put weight on during that time. I wasn't walking, I wasn't moving, I wasn't doing anything. I was eating higher refined carb meals, and just overall higher starchy carb meals. And so I did put weight on. Now, that immediately, yes, I did judge myself. I judged myself because it's like I'm a nutritionist. I know this stuff and I know my eating patterns when I get down. I should be smarter. All of those, as they say, you start shooting on yourself. And so going back to the gym is always sort of that um, I guess sort of vulnerable moment. I don't wear baggy clothes when I go to the gym. I wear leggings, tight leggings and a tank top. So they are revealing to my body, and I could see that my belly was bigger, and that was bothering me. And it was bothering me for a couple of reasons. One, it's like, okay, you did this. Don't be silly. Just start to get back on track with your eating. Don't go on diets, but just getting back on track with my eating and making sure that I'm moving my body, getting out for the walks and making sure that I'm getting into the gym. But there's still this level of judgment and also this level of, oh, well, will other people be looking at me and say, boy, she put weight on over Christmas? So sometimes that can cause us to not want to get back to those routines purely because we're judging ourselves. Nobody else notices. And if they do, and if they say something, that's where you put up a boundary. Hey, I was just ill over the last 3 weeks. I know what I'm doing with my body, but it can get us into that downward spiral where there is that judgment. So it's, it just starts to pile up. The judgment, the lack of motivation, not doing anything, and then also, oh well, this is a part of aging, and this is just the way it's going to be. And I'm here to say, no, it doesn't have to be that way, not at all. Um, Now, the other thing is that, as I say, as women, we want to push ourselves. We want to get back to normal. We want to support everybody. But this is where sometimes we do have to step back when we get sick, allow our bodies to have the healing that it needs so that we do recover properly. And then that's where we also need to remind ourselves that it is okay to get back to our routines, regardless of whether our bodies have changed or regardless of whether we've slowed down a bit, because all of that will come back. The moment I started to get out and go for walks, I could feel that energy coming back. It was just changing the way my body felt. I'd been pretty much stagnant for 3 weeks. So I can just imagine, your lymphatic system's not moving when that's going on. Your body literally just becomes very stagnant at that moment. So that's where we do need to get out and start to move everything through our body. And then that starts to return the motivation or the energy, to get back to where we were before. And as I say, there's no, um, I, I guess, humility or I can't the word I want to use right now isn't coming to the top of my mind, but there's no harm in saying, okay, I used to go for, I used to walk 12,000 steps on my non-weightlifting days. If I can't walk 12,000 steps, I'm not going to do it. That's not the right way to look at it. It's like if I can only walk a couple of blocks, especially because it was a chest cold and it was hard for me to breathe, so if I can only walk a couple of blocks, that's okay. That's okay to start there. Even if I could only walk one block, that's okay to start there. And then maybe a couple days later, okay, let's aim for 2 blocks. It's okay to go back in increments. And as I say, even with lifting the weights, I was doing the same thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to lower my weights. I don't want to injure myself. And I know that my body will recover. So these are things that there's no shame in any of this. There's no shame in pulling back a little bit, being kind to ourselves, and then getting back at things. But because our bodies have changed through, just through all the hormonal changes, it's okay as well too to say, okay, my body's a little bit different now. I need to do things a little differently. That doesn't mean that you're on this downward spiral of I'm never going to be able to do the things I used to be able to do. And it's very easy to kind of get into that mindset when we've been ill or when we've had, an injury or a surgery or something like that, and thinking about how am I going to recover from this? Now, the other thing that is important, of course, and as I say, it can be hard. I got into eating habits that I know I can get into at times when my mood gets really low. And, so, okay, I went with it. It's like, all right, just be kind to yourself. Don't judge yourself. As my previous guest, Michelle Kester Ho, shared on the episode that we did together, give yourself permission. If you want to give yourself permission, that way you're not beating yourself up about having it. So that's what I did. I gave myself permission to have the cookies that I love, and I wasn't going to beat myself up about it. And I knew that once I was better and I got back to the gym, got back to my routines, that I would stop eating the cookies, and bit by bit, the weight that I'd put on, I would be able to release. And I've started releasing it. I still have some more to go, most definitely. I put on, I'd say probably about 8 pounds. Now, some of that was just purely fluid retention because of eating the refined foods and also not moving my body. So my lymphatic system wasn't working as well. So I have released, I think, about 3 pounds so far. And I do have a bit more that I want to release. Just that's my personal preference as far as the weight that I'm at. It's just where I feel good, where my body feels good from a movement standpoint, all that type of stuff. So, do we need to be kinder to ourselves when we go through the stages of menopause and when an illness comes along or an injury or a surgery? Absolutely. Does it mean that we're on a downward trend, that things are going to just continue to get worse? No, not at all. And that's where sometimes having the support of a coach or, having people that you have in your life that are positive influences that are there to support you in those times and help you get back on track because they have good habits. Those are important. Those are important times, and it's important to share how you're feeling. The other thing that, can really affect our energy as well too, and I mentioned this sort of briefly previously, is stress. I mean, stress can really affect our energy and it can cause us to be a little more not moving as much, sitting around more, losing our energy. And that's okay in those stressful times as well too. You need to support yourself. But this is where it's really important to just take a moment and say, okay, what do I need? What does my body need? And just kind of sit with yourself and know that, you know, as they always say, this too shall pass. I knew that I would get better. I knew that I would get back on track. But yeah, at that moment in time, I just kind of needed to give myself a little bit of slack and just kind of give, just kind of give in, and just know that I was going to get better again. I always make myself a few notes because I know that there's things that sometimes I want to talk about, and I forget. So I'm just taking a quick look. Yeah, I think I've covered pretty much everything. The other thing is too is that um, when we're not moving, when we're in a very sort of um, convalescing state, or just not moving our body as much for whatever reason, because we're stressed, we're tired, we just don't feel like it, we're not motivated. The one thing is that if you start just one thing, sometimes it's saying, okay, I can put on my gym clothes, and I can put on my sneakers, and I can get outside and I can go for a walk, or I can put on my gym clothes and go to the gym, even if I just end up doing some stretching or something like that. It's taking those little steps to just kind of motivate yourself to get back at it. And you don't have to push yourself. If you've only got the energy, as I say, to walk 1 block or 2 blocks, just start there, because sometimes just that little bit of fresh air will make all of the difference, and it will start to change the overall, I guess, energy within your body, your mental state, all those types of things. So that's what I wanted to share. I want to share one more thing that I just thought of. The other reason that this year is really, really important to me is in August, I'll be turning 65. And I want to go into age 65 feeling really strong. I do have a vision for myself, the way that I want my body to look. I eat very well. You can ask anybody that's ever eaten with me; they'll tell you I have a great appetite. But I need to balance that between having the foods that are going to support my goal, and only having on occasion the foods that I know aren't going to support my goal as much. And so that is my goal from now until August, and of course beyond. But, for the next 8 months, basically, I guess I think I'm down to about 7 months almost now. But for the next 7 months, I really want to focus on doing the things that are going to get me to the goal of where I want to be at age 65. And there's nothing wrong with setting those goals. We're allowed to do it. And if anybody judges you based on those goals, well, that's where you need to draw a boundary and say, look, this is my body, this is me, this is where I want to be, and that's okay. So I probably will be sharing more about that over the next 7 months as to how I'm doing with my goals, and of course, then celebrating on my 61st birthday. So thank you very much for joining. And if you've got any comments or questions with respect to this, you can comment down below, or you can reach out to me if this is something that you don't want to share publicly. Also, I will also share my banner, that I do have a 30-minute complimentary consultation, that if you just want to talk to somebody about how you're feeling, I'm a great listener. I'd love to hear what's going on with you, and perhaps I can provide some suggestions as to, where you might be feeling stuck and wanting to kind of move from where you are, move beyond where you are. So thank you very much. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And I will be back again next week with another episode of Navigating Midlife Live. Have a great day.